I've always hated the silence of the cornfields. You think you know silence until you stand alone in the middle of 12 acres of frozen stalks in December, long after sundown, with nothing but the sound of wind dragging dry husks against each other. My name is Caleb Reed, and I grew up on a corn farm in Montgomery County, Kansas. It's just me and my dad now. Mom passed when I was 10. Every winter, we shut down the fields and locked the barn. Except this year. This year, something didn't feel right. And on Christmas Eve, it came back. It started a few days ago. We'd gotten a snowstorm early in the week, so everything was buried in white. But by Thursday, I noticed footsteps cutting through the field behind our house. Not animal prints, human ones. Bare feet. Dad thought it was just hunters or kids messing around. Ain't nothing out there but frozen ground and frostbite, he said. But those prints were deep, like someone was dragging their feet. And they stopped at the edge of the corn, right where the stalks begin again. Except, we harvested that section last month. There shouldn't be any stalks left. That night, I went out with a flashlight. Stupid, I know. The snow crunched under my boots and the wind had that sharp, metallic edge to it that makes your ears ring. I followed the tracks exactly. I swear on my life. As I walked deeper into what should have been empty fields, I saw the corn standing tall again, like the whole patch had grown back overnight. My light flickered once. I stopped. The air smelled like burnt soil and something sweet, like rotting fruit. I turned around, nothing, just wind and snow. But as I turned back, I saw movement. Something ducked behind the stalks. I called out, "Who's there?" Silence, just the wind again. But the corn started moving, not swaying from the wind, but parting, slowly, like something was walking through it, circling me. I backed away fast. Then I heard it. A low whisper, a voice, raspy and childlike.
Caleb.
I bolted back to the house and didn't say a word to my dad. What the hell was I supposed to say? Hey, Dad. The corn came back from the dead and whispered my name. The next morning, the snow had buried the tracks again. But I walked out there anyway, and the corn was gone, like it had never been there. That night, the whispers started inside the house. I was in bed, lights off, trying to pretend everything was normal. That's when I heard something scratching at the window, then tapping. I turned to look, and for a second, I saw a pale face pressed to the glass. Too wide, too smooth. Its mouth was slightly open, and it looked like it was smiling. I screamed. Dad came running. Nothing was there, but I saw it. Christmas Eve came. Snow was falling again. I decided to get some proof. I set up Dad's trail camera at the edge of the cornfield, aimed at the spot where I saw the footprints. Then I waited. Midnight rolled around. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that whisper. Caleb. So I went to check the camera. I wish I hadn't. I walked out alone. The snow was thick, falling sideways in the wind, but I could see the camera's blinking light. I took the memory card out and popped it into my laptop back home. The footage started normally, just snow. Then, around 11:42 p.m., the wind picked up, and the cornfield grew. I'm not crazy. I watched the stalks rise out of the ground, twisting up like snakes. Within seconds, the field looked like it was full summer. Then came the figure. At first, it was just a shadow between the stalks. Then it stepped out, bare feet, no clothes. Its skin looked cracked and ashen, like dried up river mud. It tilted its head slowly, and its mouth was sewn shut until it smiled. The stitches broke open, And the last frame before the footage cut off, it turned to the camera and whispered,
"Come out, Caleb."
I didn't sleep after watching the footage. I just sat there, staring at the laptop screen. The face burned into my brain, the cracked skin, the stitched mouth, the way it smiled like it remembered me, like it belonged here. I didn't show my dad. He'd say it was a prank or a corrupted video, but this wasn't tech failure. I felt the thing looking at me, through the camera, through the screen, and then the lights in the house went out. Total blackout. The heater shut off with a clunk, leaving the silence loud and suffocating. The only light came from the dim laptop screen. I grabbed the flashlight and crept to the front room. That's when I saw the front door was open. Not wide, just cracked, maybe an inch. The snow blew in gently, dusting the entryway. My breath hitched. I heard the creak of a floorboard upstairs. "Dad," I whispered. No answer. I climbed the stairs slowly. Each step groaned under my weight. I reached his room, door half open. I nudged it. Empty. The window was open. The curtains flapped in the cold wind. Then I saw it, a single bare footprint on the wooden floor, wet from snow. The shape was wrong, too long, like the toes had stretched and curled outward. My chest tightened. Suddenly, a voice whispered from behind me,
"Don't look."
I spun around, nothing. But then the floor beneath me creaked. Something was upstairs. Above the second floor, the attic. I grabbed Dad's shotgun and climbed. The attic door was already ajar. It was pitch black inside, but I could smell it. That rotting fruit and burnt soil smell, stronger now. I raised the flashlight and pushed in. The beam caught something, a shape crouched in the far corner. Naked, cracked skin, long arms. Its face turned slowly toward the light. Its mouth opened, and in that moment, my father's voice came out of it. "Help me, son." I fired. The flash of the gun lit the attic, but the thing was gone. No body, no blood, just that horrible smell and the echo of my own heartbeat hammering in my ears. By Christmas morning, my dad was still missing. His truck was still parked out front. Keys on the table. I called the sheriff. He came out, did a quick sweep, saw the camera footage, and laughed. "That's some horror movie crap, Caleb." But I wasn't laughing. That night, I went back to the field. Not because I wanted to, but because the voice in my head wouldn't stop whispering. The snow was falling again, heavy and wet. I carried the shotgun. I wore 2 jackets. I carried a lantern instead of a flashlight. No more flickering lights. The field looked alive again. The corn was tall, green, swaying like it was August. And the path was open, a trail between the stalks, just wide enough for me. I stepped in. Immediately, the wind died. The snow stopped falling inside the rows. It was silent, too silent, like the whole world held its breath. As I walked, I saw shapes in the stalks, things watching. Not animals. Faces. They'd blink and vanish. Some looked like people I knew, old neighbors, even my mom. Then I saw a scarecrow, tall, worn hat, no face, just a stitched burlap sack. But something was wrong. Its arms were moving, swaying ever so slightly. And then I realized it was breathing. I kept walking. I had to find my dad. The path twisted suddenly and ended in a clearing. In the center stood a massive wooden structure, like a twisted, Barn made from rotted beams and blood-stained cloth. Candles burned around it, and hanging from the rafters, my dad, upside down, bound by cornstalk ropes. Still alive, his mouth sewn shut, and below him, kneeling in the dirt, the creature, it was wearing my skin, my face, but stretched and wrong, like a bad Halloween mask. It turned slowly and smiled, and then it spoke with my voice.
You came home for Christmas.
I raised the shotgun. It laughed, a high-pitched, broken sound. Behind me, I heard rustling. The corn closed in. Shadows moved between the stalks, dozens of them. I fired. The blast tore into the copy of me. It exploded into ash and black vines, writhing. But the shadows kept coming. I ran to Dad and cut the ropes. He fell with a thud, still breathing, eyes wild. The whispering began, louder now, 100 voices.
He has returned. The seed is ready. The harvest begins.
I grabbed my dad and dragged him out. We ran, through the stalks, dodging hands that reached from the rows. The vines tried to grab our feet. Faces screamed silently from the soil. We burst out of the corn and into the snow. The field behind us withered instantly. The corn turned black, then crumbled to dust. My dad gasped for air. The house lights came on. That was 5 years ago. We never found out what that thing was. A demon, a spirit, something older. But we know it wants people. And we know it can wear faces. Every year since, we get visitors. Strangers who show up asking about the cornfields. Some don't leave. We stopped planting. But the soil, it still whispers, especially around Christmas. So if you hear your name in the fields, don't follow the voice.
Because it already knows your face.
I grew up in Weller's Grove, a place you'd miss if you blinked while driving past it. We had one gas station, one bar, and one school that doubled as the town hall when needed. Most folks either worked the land or drank their way through it. Our farm sat at the edge of town, right beside the old cornfields. My grandfather used to say, "There's more than corn in those rows." I thought he was just drunk. He wasn't. Every October 31st, my father would take a bucket of fresh meat, usually pig guts, and leave it at the edge of the corn by midnight. No one questioned it. We were told, it's just tradition. But the older I got, the more I realized people were afraid of something. No one stayed out after dark near the fields. No one talked about the harvest man. I asked my dad once, when I was 12, why do we leave the meat? He stared at me, real quiet, then said,
Because if we don't, he walks the rows looking for something else.
It started again last week. I came back to Weller's Grove after 10 years in Chicago. City didn't work out. Broke. Divorced. I moved back into the old farmhouse after my father passed. He died alone, slumped over his table. A half-burnt candle sat on the windowsill, facing the corn. The first night back, I heard it, rustling in the corn. Slow, deliberate, too heavy to be wind. I looked out at midnight. I swear to God, I saw a figure, kneeling in the field. Long limbs, head tilted backward like it was sniffing the air. Then it crawled, fast, not towards the house, but around it, circling. I shut the windows and didn't sleep. Next day, I found hoof prints in the dirt. Not horse, not cow, not natural, like a goat, but too large, and they sank deep into the earth. That evening, the local pastor came to visit. An old man named Reverend Marlowe, pale as a corpse, eyes always darting. You planning to stay? He asked. I live here now. He frowned. Then do what your father did. Leave the meat. And for God's sake, don't look between the rows. I hired a farmhand, Jesse, to help fix the barn roof. A local boy, maybe 22. He grew up hearing the same stories. People think it's just superstition, Jesse said one afternoon. But every few years, someone goes missing. Last one was Tommy Jinks. Went into the corn drunk. Never came out. Next day, the field was different. Different how? Taller. Like it grew overnight. And there was something left behind. What? A tooth. Still bleeding. Like it had just been ripped out. He looked at me dead in the eye. I don't go near the field after dark. That night, I stayed up. Left the meat bucket out like my dad did. I watched from the upstairs window. At 12:16 a.m., something came out of the corn. It didn't walk. It crawled on all fours, long, thin limbs. White skin like it was stretched too tight. It moved like it didn't have bones. It stopped at the bucket and laughed. A high-pitched sound like a dying pig, gurgling. Then it raised its head to face the house. It didn't have a mouth, just lines where one should be, but I could still hear it speak. You've seen me now. Next morning, the bucket was empty. The snow around it was black. Not blood, something darker, sticky like tar. I went into town. People looked at me funny. Some turned away. I asked the sheriff if he ever saw anything strange near the cornfields. He just said, stay inside on Halloween. That night, I burned sage, boarded the windows, kept my gun close. Midnight came, and the scarecrow I put up earlier that day was gone. Instead, nailed to the post, was a face. My face, sewn from cloth, stitched with straw. But it looked exactly like me, and its eyes moved. I screamed. Jesse found me shaking on the floor. I told you, he said, voice trembling. He's chosen you. I couldn't take it. I grabbed a lantern and my father's old shotgun and went into the field. The corn was too tall, twisting. The stalks moved even without wind. Inside, the world changed. The rows shifted, looped. I walked for what felt like hours. The deeper I went, the more I heard. Children crying, my father whispering, my own voice begging for help. And then I saw it. The harvest man. He was kneeling in a clearing, surrounded by bones, wearing a crown of crows. His back was to me, spine sharp like broken glass under skin. He turned slowly. He had no face, just a writhing mass of worms and soil. And still he spoke.
I have waited for you.
I fired. Nothing happened. The light from my lantern died, and everything went black. I woke up at the edge of the field. It was morning. Jesse found me, but something was wrong. My shadow moved differently, delayed, like a lagging video. My reflection in the mirror blinked when I didn't. That night, I found a note nailed to the door. You look between the rows. Now something looks through you. People started avoiding my house. Jesse quit. I'd wake up at night and see things crawling on the ceiling. Not rats. Fingers. The cornfield never stopped whispering. Sometimes I see myself in the rows, watching me, smiling, holding a lantern, and every night, the scarecrow post waits outside. Every morning, there's a new face on it. Some are mine, some are strangers. All of them are alive. Their eyes move, their lips twitch, and they whisper. Harvest night is every night now. I'm not sure how long I've been here. Days blend together. I don't remember what my voice sounds like. The harvest man came last night. He stood in the hallway, and he was wearing my father's skin. He said one thing before vanishing into the walls. The seed is planted. Now I hear footsteps in the attic. Something dragging itself down the stairs. If you find this message, don't go into the corn. Don't listen to the whispers. And never, ever look between the rows. Because once you do, you're not you anymore. My name is Travis. I grew up in a dying town called Elkhorn Junction, surrounded by decaying fields and silence. But there's one field nobody touches, the Galloway cornfield. No one plows it, no one walks it, and no one ever mentions the witch who lives beneath it. They say she was a girl once. A girl buried alive by the townsfolk in 1891, burned, beaten, and cursed for witchcraft. But her body never rotted. She whispered from beneath the soil. They say if you step between her rows on All Hallows Eve, she hears you breathing. I was 17 when I made the worst decision of my life. It was Halloween. Me and 3 friends, Joey, Kels, and Mikey, were drinking near the edge of Galloway Field. Joey said, "Let's go in, just to the scarecrow and back." The scarecrow stood crooked and half-rotten deep in the corn. It wore a white dress. People said it was hers. They dared me, so I did it. Halfway through the rows, I stopped. I heard breathing behind me. I turned, no one there. But something brushed my leg. Cold, bony fingers. And then I heard it. You stepped in. Now I can step out. That night, my dreams bled into my room. I smelled sulfur and dead leaves. I saw her, not fully, just pieces. A face too long. A body stitched wrong. White hair like mold. She was watching me through the mirror. Next morning, Mikey was missing. His window shattered from the inside out. His room full of dirt and corn husks. There was one word scratched into his floorboards. She's hungry. The town didn't search long. They never do when the cornfield takes someone. I tried to forget it, but the corn grew. Overnight, in winter, the roots pushed up through my basement. Not vines, hands. Rotten baby fingers clawing through the concrete. I moved out, slept in my truck. But that night, every window fogged up. In the condensation, words appeared. Do you know her name yet? 2 nights later, I went back to Galloway Field. I had to know, had to finish it. I brought salt, candles, and a Bible. Didn't matter. She was waiting. At the center of the field, the scarecrow was gone. In its place, a stone well I had never seen before, covered in roots. And from inside it, she whispered, "Say it." I didn't even know what it was, but my mouth moved, and I did. Her name, Malin Voss. That was the true mistake, because names have power, and now she had mine. Back home, I wasn't alone. My reflection blinked wrong. My phone played whispers went off. I got a letter on my pillow, no stamp, no envelope. It read, "You wore her name. Now we're her skin." That night, I peeled dead corn leaves off my arms. In the mirror, my face twisted. Not physically, spiritually. Like I was no longer in full control. Joey called me, crying. Said Kels was found in her barn, skinned, and wearing the same white dress as the scarecrow. Her mouth sewn open, filled with live worms. Desperate, I found an old woman in town, the last surviving Galloway. She knew the curse. She was innocent, she told me. They burned her for birthing a stillborn and blamed the devil. But they buried her alive anyway. She sang while she suffocated, a lullaby made of screams. She's still singing. Then she handed me a mirror. Black glass, framed in teeth. If you look into it, you'll see your ending. I looked and saw myself, buried alive, eyes open, screaming in silence. It rained corn that night. I'm not kidding. Actual dry husks fell from the sky. They landed like knives, sharp, splintered, rotting, covering my house, piercing the roof. From the center of it all, she rose. The corn witch. No legs, just roots. A mouth of teeth that spun like a windmill. Empty eye sockets leaking black sap. She whispered, "Travis, son of silence, do you take me as your harvest bride?" I screamed. I ran, but the corn followed me, grew from my feet, pulled me back. I awoke gagging on soil. Now, I'm not real anymore. Not fully. I still walk, still breathe, but people don't see me anymore. I knock at their windows. I tap at the glass, and when they open the door, I whisper her name, Malin Voss, and she takes them, one by one. I'm part of her now. The cornfield is not a place. It's a mouth, a temple, and we are all just seed. If you hear corn rustle in the wind, if you smell something sweet rotting, if your mirror fogs up with no one else in the room, you're next. Because the corn which feeds and cycles, and someone has to plant the next soul. She doesn't knock, she whispers, and if you answer, you'll hear the lullaby and never wake again. My name is Jacob Miller, and I just moved to a farmhouse near a ghost town in Nebraska. I wanted peace, nature, and a break from my life in Chicago. I thought acres of corn would be relaxing, but this cornfield, it's wrong. The first night, I noticed the rows were moving, like literally changing direction. I'd walk in facing east, come out facing north. The paths didn't match. But the scariest part? The third row. No matter where I entered from, it was always there. It didn't sway in the wind, didn't rustle, didn't feel alive. It just watched. That night, I dreamed of something crawling beneath. The stalks, skinless, human-shaped, and whispering. You stepped into the third row. Now it grows in you. I woke up with soil in my mouth. I called the local sheriff. He laughed and said, "Everyone who buys that land sees things. The field does that." Do what? He just said, "Don't go in again." So I did the opposite. I walked in with a flashlight, a camera, and chalk to mark my trail. I walked straight for 10 minutes. But somehow, I passed my house again. The field folded in on itself. And then, the whispers started, low at first, then inside my ears. They weren't speaking words, they were planting them. Suddenly, the stalks opened on their own, and I saw it, buried between roots, staring up, eyes open. It was me, dead, mouth full of corn silk, face eaten away, my own body buried beneath the third row. I screamed. The sky turned black. The corn started laughing. I ran, but the corn ran with me. Every direction, every turn. I smashed through row after row until I fell into my living room. Yes, the cornfield ended inside my house. There were stalks growing from the bathtub, from the fridge, from my goddamn mouth in the mirror. Something is happening to me. My skin smells like earth. Every time I breathe, I hear roots shifting under my ribs. I tried to drive away. The GPS just looped. Return to row 3. I smashed every mirror, but still I see it. In reflections, in my dreams, in the static of the TV. The third row is in me. I am the scarecrow now, and the harvest? It's coming for you next. Because once you've heard the row, you can't unwalk it. And when you dream tonight, don't follow the corn whispers. Don't answer the voice. Because if you do, you'll never wake up with your own face again.